October ended up being a pretty busy month for me, but I was still able to get done all of the reading that I wanted to get done. As mentioned last month, I had a few things in the pipeline that I wanted to read and talk about. First up was the book club book, and that was Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. I have not read anything by Agatha Christie before. This was a first for me. Didn't care for it. Uh, Overall, just did not care for it. I thought maybe I just didn't vibe with Agatha Christie's style of writing, but whenever we discussed it in the actual book club itself, turns out that no, this is just one of the weaker showings by Agatha Christie, and that's kind of a general consensus about this particular book. I was encouraged to check out different books written by her, so I will give those a go at a certain point. But overall, I didn't care for it too much. I'm not a huge mystery person, you know. Uh, I enjoy mysteries. It's just not a genre that I have done a full dive into yet. But even with the minor knowledge I have of mystery novels, it felt almost like a parody where all the characters felt really one dimensional. Um, it felt kind of like just textbook go here, investigate person, go here, investigate person, go here, investigate person. And that's kind of the whole book. Uh, there's not a whole lot of personality. There are enough hints where you can figure out who done it by the end. Like I was able to figure out who done it by the end. But it's not really satisfying. I think that it kind of solves itself at a certain point. I just didn't have a great time with it overall. It just kind of the interrogations also weren't super fun to read through. A lot of the times, whenever the main character, Perot, was interviewing the characters, it almost felt like you're playing a video game and you're just exhausting all of the dialogue options. That's just kind of the vibe that it ended up giving, and it was just not a very fun book to go through. But I'll tell you what is a really fun book to go through: The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. This was recommended to me by my brother, and it was so much fun. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm going to have its own dedicated video. It's just been stuck in my head, and I really want to talk more in depth about it. But overall, it's a really, really fun read. Uh, the downside about it is that it's not much more than just a fun read. The basic premise of it is that our main character, Brother Diaz, is put in charge of a new flock, as it were, of basically monsters. There's a vampire, there's a werewolf, there's an elf, and he has to lead them on a mission sent by the Catholic Church to complete a mission. I don't want to give too many details about it, but the thing that I thought was really funny going through it was that the whole premise is that the Catholic Church has these monsters under their control, and they send them on these particular missions that they might not want the public to know about. If you know anything about comic books, specifically DC Comics, it's basically like a Catholic Suicide Squad, where, you know, the government has all of these supervillains under control to take care of shady business that they don't want tied back to the government. It's a really fun premise. The characters are all very engaging. The action is well written. It is funny. It kind of reads like a superhero movie. So take that with what you will. It really did give off the same kind of vibes to me as James Gunn's Suicide Squad. So if that's up your alley, give it a go. I did find it very fun, very entertaining. If you're just in for a good time with some bloody action and some fun jokes, give that a go. But bear in mind that outside of that, there's not much else. There's not a lot of emotional depth. The characters, while funny and entertaining, aren't super fleshed out. Some characters get more time than others to really develop, while others kind of get put in the wayside to just exist and have their gimmick. But it is very fun outside of those small issues. And every year in October, I give it a read. I love this book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. If you haven't read Bram Stoker's Dracula and you only know about it via the cultural zeitgeist, give it a read. It's really good, very well written. Not a lot of people know that it is actually written as like journal entries, which this is like my eighth time reading it now, and every time I read it, I feel like I have a new thought, pick up on something new. It's like a new experience each time because you kind of look at it with fresh eyes and how you've experienced the world in the past year. It's really weird to explain, but yeah, not a lot of people know that it is written as like journal entries and newspaper clippings, and that's kind of how the story is told through. And something I couldn't help but wonder with Dracula, just a classic of horror, being told in that style. Um, I feel like a lot of modern horror video games have that same kind of storytelling method where you're exploring a place and then you pick up notes and newspaper clippings that tell of the story of like the monster that was haunting this place or like ghost sightings or something. Then you have to piece the story together from there. And I can't help but wonder if that method of storytelling may have been kind of inspired by the original Bram Stoker Dracula. That was just a thought I had on this recent read through. It's a very engaging story. It's worth a read just for the sake of understanding where the Dracula character comes from, how he was originally perceived, how Mina Harker was originally perceived, um, just to get the idea of all of these classic characters that have been changed drastically in pop culture. So it's worth a read just to see the originals, I think. And then I thought this would be a fun one. Neil deGrasse Tyson's Merlin's Tour of the Universe. Very entertaining. It's a nonfiction book written by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'm going to try to summarize. Neil deGrasse Tyson created a fictional character named Merlin, who is from the Andromeda Galaxy, uh, and has existed since the beginning of time and has observed all things. That's the character Merlin, essentially. And this whole book is comprised of questions that people submitted to Merlin to be answered. So basically, realistically, it's, asking Neil deGrasse Tyson these questions, but it's asked as if, like, Dear Merlin, what's up with this? And some of the answers are very funny. They go from anywhere from, like, one word to 2 pages. It actually did get a chuckle out of me. One person asked, is it just a coincidence that the moon and sun are the same size in the sky from our perspective? Answer. Yep. Next. And then some questions have like this whole long explanation. And it is very entertaining. You don't need an in depth knowledge of astronomy or astrophysics. Everything is very friendly for the layman. I would know because I am a layman and I had a good time reading the book and was able to understand everything. If you have a passing interest in space, I recommend this. It is really fun to see the types of questions that people have when looking up at the night sky and can often spark your own kind of curiosity and questions that you might have. And you might want to go do some research on that because learning about space is just really dang cool. Now, there's no need for me to go back to the shelf to get the reads for November because I know exactly what I'm reading already. And it's all because of the book club. We're going to be reading The Hobbit this month. And I'm so pumped for that. The Hobbit was probably my spark of interest in high fantasy. Well, I remember being a kid reading through The Hobbit and just being utterly fascinated by the whole premise of going on an adventure in this high fantasy world that was just brimming with possibility and magic and monsters. It felt like the first time playing like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which was another piece of media that really sparked my interest in fantasy. The Hobbit and Legend of Zelda. That was my personality when I was a child. And so, this month, not only am I reading The Hobbit, I'm reading Lord of the Rings as well. I got this box set a while ago. And I'm so pumped for it because I've just been looking for an excuse to read through The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings again. So, each one, nice hardcover, comes with a ribbon. Always fun. And they have full color illustrations. I'm so excited to read through these. I haven't read through The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings since college. So I'm so pumped to go through these again and experience it in this new medium of an illustrated book. Gosh, these are so nice. I'm so excited to read through these. So that is what I'm going to be doing this month. Once I finish these, depending on time frame, I might grab something else off the shelf and give it a read. I got a book back there that's all about advice on how to implement world building in your own writing. So, might give that one a read if I finish up Lord of the Rings by the end of the month and have the spare time. But that is what I have going on in November, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, that is what I've been reading. That is what I will be reading. Hop on down in the comments. Let me know what you have been reading and plan to read in the near future, and if you have any recommendations for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.